سخنران بعدی ما آریان بانکی است. فرزند ارزنده مهرداد بانکی و نوه موبد دکتر شهریار بانکی و فرنگیس بانو. باعث افتخار ماست که پیام زرتشت به این طریق نسل به نسل همیشه زنده و جاودان میمونه. در این قسمت برنامه من از دو همکار دیگه نوجوانم، ویستا مهر و کامران، خواهش میکنم که بیان کمی آشنایی بیشتر با این دو نوجوان عزیزمون. ویستا مهر دارابیان. Vista Mehr is 13 years old and is an 8th grader. She goes to Rancho San Joaquin Middle School in Irvine. She moved here about 2.5 years ago from Tehran, Iran. She has an 11-year-old sister. Her favorite topics in school are math and history. She plays volleyball, does synchronized swimming and competitive swimming. Personality-wise, she tries to be outgoing and making everyone happy. She does community service all around Irvine, like helping at senior centers, food banks, animal shelters, etc. She enjoys listening to music, reading, and seeing friends. Kamran Mahmoudzadeh is a junior in high school and is involved with the music program at school. He has been attending the California Zoroastrian Center for 5 years, and this is his 4th year in the teen group. He is excited to participate in this conference for the first time and is extremely grateful for being given the opportunity to support his community. چه جمله زیبایی دوباره کامران محمودزاده میگه از دید یه نفر من. Extremely grateful for being given the opportunity to support his community. Our next speaker is Arian Banki, and our two new teenage colleagues and partners, Vista Mehr and Kamran, would be introducing Arian. Please join me to welcome both of them.
Arian Banki, son of Mehrdad Banki, grandson of Mobed Dr. Banki. Arian is a proud Zoroastrian. Arian lives in San Diego, California, and is working toward a degree in psychology. His goal in life is to follow in the footsteps of his father and grandfather by abiding the principles of good thought, good words, and good deeds. By following this path and dedicating his life to Asha, the balance of all existence, he hopes to create the best conditions for himself and every sentient being. Zoroastrianism does not require following a religion or dogma. It means doing the best for oneself, placing no judgment, appreciating every aspect of every moment. Being a Zoroastrian means loving everybody, regardless of their age, sex, religion, occupation, etc. According to Arian, being a Zoroastrian means finding salvation through good intentions. Nobody can force you to be good to yourself. It may seem simple, but it is a minute-to-minute practice. Anyone who applies themselves to their work and is dedicated to a practice of mindfulness is Zoroastrian. Arian has established his dedication to Zoroastrianism not only with the gathas, but through such practices as daily silent meditation, yoga, engaging in healthy relationships, and productive philanthropic work. He lives by a simple motto: we must put in more than we receive to find peace. This journey to self-peace and salvation are for each individual to understand for his or herself. Every individual has the ability to achieve what Ashu Zarathustra, the Buddha, and Mother Teresa have accomplished. That is, peace of mind through avoidance of distraction, and commitment to self-love.
سخنران بعدی ما آقای آریان بانکی هستند. ایشان پسر آقای مهرداد بانکی و نوه آقای دکتر بانکی هستند. ایشان به زرتشتی بودنشان افتخار می‌کنند. آقای آریان بانکی در سندیگوی کالیفرنیا زندگی و در رشته روانپزشکی تحصیل می‌کنند. ایشان پیرو همان راهی که اجدادشان برای قرنها دنبال کرده، یعنی اندیشه، گفتار و کردار نیک می باشند تا بتوانند بهترین زندگی را برای خود و تمام آفریده های دیگر فراهم کنند. اگرچه این هدف بسیار بزرگ است، به هر حال هر کسی باید از جای آغاز کند. از نظر ایشان زرتشتی بودن فقط پیروی از یک مذهب نیست، بلکه زرتشتی بودن به این معنی است که آنچه که بهترین است را باید انجام داد و بدون قضاوت هر لحظه را گرامی داشت. همه را بدون در نظر گرفتن سن، مذهب و شغل و یا جنس دوست بدارند. طبق نظر آریان، زرتشتی بودن به این معناست که از طریق نیات خوب از عذاب گناه در امان باشیم. هیچ کس نمیتواند شما را وادار به خوب بودن بکند. ممکن است به نظر این ساده باشد، ولی خوب بودن نیازمند تمرین دقیقه به دقیقه است. هر کس میتواند با از خودگذشتگی و تلاش یک زرتشتی درستکار باشد. آریان خودش را وقف دین زرتشتی کرده است، نه فقط با گاته‌ها بلکه از طریق مدیتیشن، سکوت روزانه، یوگا، روابط سالم، مفید بودن و کارهای بشردوستانه. او با یک شعار ساده زندگی می کند. ما باید از خودمان بیشتر مایه بگذاریم تا اینکه چیزی دریافت کنیم برای آنکه به صلح برسیم. سفر به آرامش درونی و نجات از عذاب گناه برای هر کس آن است که برای خودش می‌فهمد. هر شخص قابلیت آن را دارد که به آنچه زرتشت، بودا و مادر ترسا به دست آوردند برسد. آن آرامش خیال است که با دوری از منحرف شدن و خود را دوست داشتن حاصل می شود. در اینجا از آقای آریان بانکی خواهش می کنیم که تشریف بیارن.
First off, I want to thank everybody here for carrying on such a great legacy and making today possible. We are all here today for a similar purpose. That is to understand the teachings of Asha Zartosht. My name is Arian Banki, and I'm going to be informing you about Asha, the balance throughout the universe. We are all an equal part of this balance. It exists embodied in us. We can actually visualize this equilibrium as a cross of light that intersects at our torso and extends up through the heavens, roots us down to the earth, and cross to love, joy, peace, and compassion. The cross has been interpreted in almost all religions for thousands of years. In our religion, we understand it as a faravaha. We understand the balance through the wings, consciousness lifting up through the heavens, and the past rooting down through the feathers. That's been interpreted in Christ with the cross, and even in Buddhism through so much art, through Shiva and the Mahamudra, and continuously throughout existence, you keep seeing the cross. There's not one set way to find balance is what this resembles. It's a personal journey for all of us. We can find this stability by practicing the principles of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. For those of you who do not know, the Gathas are Zartosht's 17 songs that lead us on a personal journey to self-worth and introspection. And in these Gathas, you find that Asha Zartosht was writing about finding self-peace through good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. By practicing these main precepts, we are able to live a happier and more humble life. And by living an excellent life for oneself, we actually better all of humanity. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the ripple effect and how every action has infinite reactions. So we must be mindful of every action we take and of others' desires and beliefs. We have to be mindful every second of every day, not only of ourselves, but of others. We must put ourselves first. Selfishness is not the same as greed. Greed is a distraction. Greed is the lust for control of outer body experiences. Greed is the want to arrange the world to our terms, the want to make more money thinking will make us better than the next man. The want to be better, thinking that it'll bring us happiness. Wanting is a similar characteristic of all greedy behavior. The wanting to control something other than our mind. So I'm not saying you should stop making money or stop competing. I'm saying peace comes from generosity. Generosity is the reason our Zoroastrian culture exists. It is because of generosity that this very Daramed that we sit here in today is maintained and is still going strong. There's an old Buddhist myth of a monk who is highly revered. In order for monks to eat, they have to travel with a bowl and they have to spread a lecture of dharma, is what they call it, of self-worth. And so this monk, he was actually beckoned by a king to come and speak for the kingdom and for the king himself. The lesson went so well that the monk did not only receive a bowl of food, but he received a bowl made of gold. He took this bowl with him for many months, traveling, giving lectures in Dharma, and receiving food. One day he notices somebody eyeing his bowl, and he notices him and lets him follow to where he was going to fall asleep. And he gets up and he gives the thief the bowl, knowing that the thief was going to try to take it. The thief, in bewilderment, just gives him a look and runs off, and the monk's able to go to sleep happily. The next morning when the monk wakes up, he sees the thief sitting next to him with the bowl in his hand. And he gives the monk the bowl and he says, "Because of your lessons in generosity, I am here ready to learn from you. I want to be your disciple." They both went on to live a happy life, finding peace and what is called nirvana in the Buddhist culture, but we call it Ahura Mazda, we call it existence and knowledge. Hence, the story is talking about Ashambhahu. Whoever follows Asha for the sake of Asha will find peace. It is because of generosity that true relationships are built. And through these relationships, we can divine true wealth. Wealth is not what we physically acquire. It's not the house we live in, the job that we have, or the wife that we have, any of these principles. Wealth is what we can find inside of us. After all, when we die with nothing. Love is the most rewarding gift that can ever be received or given. Love for oneself can be hard to find, but if we look inside ourselves, we are capable of anything. Today is the time to find what you have been looking for. There is no time like the present. We must make the most of every single moment that we are breathing. We have all come here for a similar purpose, whether consciously or subconsciously, that is to find peace within ourselves. That is why we are here at the Zoroastrian Center. We as conscious beings are not a creation. We are a manifestation. We must understand that it is the mind that can be arranged rather than the universe. And once we are able to understand this, we can find love for all that is. There's a metaphor that is used of a king and a cook. The king is the mind, and the cook is the practice. It takes many, many meals in order for the cook to be able to understand what the king truly desires. And so by time and through a dedicated life, the cook is actually able to compensate for the king, and they are both able to live very happily. So that's how I see my daily practice. You know, some things might work, some things do work, and we just have to continue. We just have to continue being good to ourselves. Asha Zarathustra may have been the first being on this planet to have achieved this state of equilibrium through his compassionate life, but we can look at history and see many great teachers have existed to lead us on this path. After all, we are the best teachers for ourselves. We are capable of attaining the knowledge these great individuals have acquired. It starts with a dedicated practice to our good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. This practice is personalized for everyone. There is no one path. There is just one great knowledge, Ahura Mazda. The righteous path may not always have the most desirable immediate outcome, but taking the righteous path will be the most rewarding in finding peace. Spenta menu means the good in life. When the seed is planted in us, we must nurture it through a healthy practice. The way we choose to practice is a trial and error, just as the cook must accommodate the king. If you are not familiar with the gathas and traditional Zoroastrian verses, there are hundreds of ways to practice and get started. Being able to communicate with great peers here in this center, there is a lot to learn about Asha Zarathustra and his teachings. The insight planted amongst the men and women here is an opportunity I hope many will take on. Practice comes from good health and good intentions. There are thousands of positive self-constructive groups forming just a click away on the internet, so we all need to go check it out. No matter our age, there's so much to learn. Just to name a few of these sites that involve Zoroastrianism are mubedjamshidi.com, avesta.org, and gatas.org. I found there's a lot of useful information on these sites, and like I said, it's just a click away. Even though the verses of Asha Zarathustra help us on the journey to introspection, we do not have to sing these 17 verses Asha Zarathustra did to find peace and enlightenment. Asha Zarathustra was asking questions to look inward. We must do the same. Ultimately, love, happiness, and God are inside of you. When we start looking outward for understanding, we set ourselves up for an impossible journey. You are God. You are the balance. We can visualize this embodied cross as light extended from one another, connecting us all. We are all from the same mother, from the same earth, and we are all here to do the same. Be good to ourselves by practicing the good thoughts, the good words, and the good deeds to find Asha. Thank you.
Thank you for the wonderful speech, Mr. Arian Banki.
Thank you.
And we'd now like to open the floor for 2 or 3 questions.
خیلی ممنون از سخنرانی زیباتون. اگه سوالی دارین بپرسین.
Does anybody have any questions about the topic?
Thank you for your speech. I want to know your opinion. What's the difference between the Avesta and Gata? What do you think about that?
Well, the gathas are 17 songs or verses that lead us on an introspective journey by asking questions of existence. The gathas are the only scripture known to be true teachings of Asha Zarathustra. There are 5 sections of the gathas which were embedded into the Avesta. And the Avesta is actually, it is literature. The 5 sections that it was embedded in was the Yasna. The Avesta is a compilation of multiple scriptures and from various times, from before Asha Zarathustra until the Sasanian times. The Avesta is a compilation of medical records, of so many different things, but the gathas are just, it's introspectively songs and hymns for us to understand better the balance in all existence.
You spoke about the similarities between Buddhism and Zoroastrianism. So could you elaborate a little more about how they're alike and different?
Definitely. So both Zoroastrianism and Buddhism, they're actually very similar, but there is one main difference. First, I'll go through a few of the similarities. Both of them came from the same region, and as you know, a lot of, through wars and things, a lot of the Zarathustra people back in the times, they started going down through India and those places, and so they could actually originated from the same tribe, you could say. There's both Zarathustra beliefs and Buddhist beliefs look inward for peace compared to looking toward God in the sky. The main difference that I see is that Asha Zarathustra did not believe in suffering in existence. His teachings are about cherishing the world, the body, and all in life. In Buddhism, the practice actually, it requires some suffering. The daily practice requires suffering through introspective sitting. There's so many different methods that they find enlightenment through, but all of it requires suffering. And that is what Asha Zarathustra did not condole. He just believed that we are all existing and we all should cherish our lives to the fullest and be happy with where we are and who we are.
I just want to translate. Mr. Amin Isam had a very good question.
Okay.
His question in English was, how do we influence the American culture with our Gothic principles?
Thank you. The best way to influence the American culture is just by being the best for ourselves. The gathas, they are now circulating through the internet, and by letting our neighbors and our friends and peers know, that is the best way to influence. But by continuing to be good for ourselves and practicing a humble life and giving back as much as we can to humanity, we're able to preserve the knowledge that Asha Zartosht spoke about. The gathas, they are very, very prolific, and they have a lot of wisdom inside of them, but we can ask those same questions ourselves, even if we are not aware of the gathas ourselves. All comes down to practicing the good thoughts, good words, good deeds, and letting everybody know that we are good for ourselves.